Is OpenAI the new GitHub? Welcome back to the AI Daily Brief Headlines Edition, all the daily AI news you need in around 5 minutes. Back in December of last year, Mitchell Hashimoto tweeted, "The AI companies are on track to become GitHub faster than GitHub is becoming an AI company." A lot of folks agreed, although some, like Ivan Barazin, had thoughts on who it might be. Ivan writes, "Been looking for who will do this for a while. Bearish that it will be OpenAI, though." And yet, yesterday we got this report from The Information that OpenAI is developing an internal alternative to GitHub. According to the information sources, the project was spurred by a rise in outages for Microsoft's code repository platform. OpenAI engineers complained that these outages have stopped work for minutes or even hours at a time. GitHub had 37 outages in February, which was up dramatically from an average of 17 per month last year. Microsoft has attributed these outages to human error and problems with Azure during a multi-year migration project away from GitHub's proprietary servers. Now, sources for the OpenAI project did say that it's in its early stages and likely won't be completed for months. They also noted that the project is intended for internal use first and foremost, but then again, so was Claude Code. This also isn't the only project to rebuild GitHub for the agentic era. That was also the pitch for the new startup from former GitHub CEO Thomas Dohmke when he left Microsoft earlier this year. Dohmke's idea was the integration of agentic code review tools to help close the loop on fully autonomous code generation. Now, there are a lot of people who are trying to put different lenses on this. For some, it's the latest example of OpenAI competing with Microsoft as the rift between the two companies expands. Others see it as part of the SaaSpocalypse theme of companies canceling their software subscription in favor of vibe-coded alternatives. I'm not sure any of that's true. It feels to me like it might just be the start of an inevitable shift in this category, given how much code is pumping through these companies' coffers. As Amaya puts it, "The interesting play is not just hosting code, it's owning the layer that understands how the code connects across services and teams. That's where agents actually need to operate." Next up, we move over to Meta, who has formed a new applied AI engineering organization. According to a memo viewed by the Wall Street Journal, the new organization will work closely with both AR and VR organization Reality Labs, as well as the Meta Superintelligence Lab. Now, this doesn't seem to be another broad restructuring of AI at Meta, which by some counts went through 4 reshufflings last year. Instead, it appears to be aimed at filling gaps between hardware, tooling, and model teams. The memo said that the goal was to strengthen Meta AI initiatives, commenting that the team will build the, quote, data engine that helps our models get better faster. The new org has an unusually flat structure. It consists of 2 teams of 50 people, each reporting into a single manager. One team will work on building interfaces and internal tooling, while the other works on data collection and refinement. The flattened team mirrors the structure of TBD Labs, which consists of around 50 highly paid AI researchers working under new AI CEO Alexander Wang within the broader superintelligence org. It also seems to reflect Mark Zuckerberg's new management philosophy that he outlined on Meta's most recent earnings call. He said that individual contributors are being elevated now that AI has allowed, in his words, projects that used to require big teams now can be accomplished by a single very talented person. Over in Amazon land, that company is exploring the prospect of building technology to power AI advertising. According to The Information, Amazon's ad business has held discussions over recent months with major websites and ad sales firms about the idea. The plan would involve placing ads in chatbots and agents. One of the websites mentioned as a focus of the pitch was Pinterest, which is in the middle of an AI overhaul. In October, Pinterest launched an AI shopping recommendation assistant that helps users track down clothing featured on the website. You can see how this could be a natural fit for high-intent traffic. Now, one of the things that people don't really know about Amazon or don't really think about much is how big its ad business actually is. Last year, Amazon generated $68.6 billion in ad revenue. And while that represents only a tenth of their overall business, it was their fastest growing division, achieving 22% growth last year. As advertising comes to the AI platforms, there could very easily be a land grab around who gets to host the clearinghouse. Now, what consumers are going to think about all these AI ads remains to be seen and is part of the conversation that we're having in the main episode. Over in AI politics and chips, US officials are considering a cap on Nvidia chip sales into China in a bid to constrain the power of training clusters. Bloomberg reports that US trade officials are considering a cap of 75,000 chips per customer. Sources said the cap would apply to the newly approved Nvidia H200 chips, as well as AMD's MI325 AI chips. They noted that chip supply would also be contained to 1 million total units sold into China, a limit that was set earlier in the regulatory process but up to now hasn't previously been reported. The million-unit limit is reportedly far lower than the number Nvidia originally proposed, which gives some additional context to recent comments from Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick. During congressional testimony last month, Lutnick said that Nvidia must live with the license terms set by the government, and presumably this is what he meant. The 75,000 chip cap is also less than half the number sought by Chinese tech giants Alibaba, Tencent, and ByteDance. Each had reportedly told Nvidia that they would like chip counts of around 200,000 to build their large-scale training clusters. Within these limits, each company will only be able to build data centers using around 100 megawatts of power. That's a far smaller scale than the multi-gigawatt training clusters that are planned by Western AI labs, and not even a match for xAI's original build-out of the Colossus megacluster last March, which began at 100,000 GPUs and quickly scaled to 200,000, and is now reportedly at 550,000 units. The big question is whether this is a meaningful constraint or simply window dressing to appease China hawks in Washington. What's more, the entire process is still murky and getting even murkier due to the Iran war, considering that China is a major strategic trading partner. Chips are on the agenda when President Trump meets with President Xi in a few weeks' time, but it's not hard to imagine that larger geopolitical issues could overshadow those particular trade negotiations. In device land, Apple has unveiled their new line of M5-powered devices at their global event. The new lineup includes MacBook Air and MacBook Pro models, all being the first to feature the new M5, M5 Pro, and M5 Max chipsets. The M5 chips feature a new component known as a neural accelerator to boost AI performance, and it's very clear that Apple is focused on the AI use case when it comes to selling these models. Now, as you might imagine, the only real question on the minds of the AI folks was summed up by Noah Hirschfeld, who wrote, "The M5 MacBook looks cool and all, but where's the M5 OpenClaw Mac Mini?" Lastly today, a bit of operator news which I think is sneakily powerful. Stripe has previewed a new feature that would make charging for token use much easier. The feature allows AI app developers to automatically charge a usage fee directly on Stripe's platform. For example, an app developer might want to charge a 30% markup on API calls. Previously, they would have needed to track token usage on their backend and periodically generate lump sum bills. The new feature allows Stripe to track usage and automatically bill the customers the appropriate amount. Having this infrastructure provided to startups could dramatically change the pricing structure for AI apps. Currently, most apps charge a flat-rate monthly subscription with usage caps or credit-based systems. Under these models, token usage is a cost center, making profitability difficult to forecast. Last year, we saw multiple startups run into this problem. Most notably, Replit briefly ran at negative 14% gross margins as demand and token volume surged. The issue is only becoming more prevalent as token-hungry agentic startups come to market. Stripe said their billing tool will integrate into token tracking and model routing platforms like Vercel and OpenRouter. This should make it easy for existing apps to add the feature to their existing stack. Overall, I think this is a massive, massive step, not only in the path towards usage-based pricing for AI apps, but for that actually being a viable business model. Tokens can now easily be priced as a commodity all the way to the end user, and while in some cases that may mean that users are paying more for what they consume, overall I think it's going to be much healthier and more sustainable for the ecosystem. Good on Stripe for that feature, certainly excited to check it out in our own work. For now, however, that is going to do it for today's headlines. Next up, the main episode.